EU Unmasked, how Brussels is guilty of breaching withdrawal agreement. Prime Minister Boris Johnson caused an international storm when he announced the Internal Market Bill, which is supposed to enable unfettered access between the four countries of the United Kingdom after Brexit. The bill was declared a breach of international law because it overrides the Northern Ireland Protocol, a divisive clause of the withdrawal agreement signed by the United Kingdom and EU last year. The protocol stated a customs border would be put up in the Irish Sea, and there will be no hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. The bill, however, suggested there not be anything to slow down trade coming from Northern Ireland and into Britain. This proposal, which is yet to be passed into law, has infuriated Brussels, and the EU figureheads have renewed their promise to take the United Kingdom to court over the matter. Yet, according to an article on facts4eu.org, some lawyers claim it's the bloc who has broken the terms of the withdrawal agreement, and therefore is in breach of international law, rather than Britain. The website explains, the EU has been in default of its obligations under the withdrawal treaty since it was signed and has in effect broken international law. It continued. When the United Kingdom exercised its right to leave the EU, it participated in the withdrawal agreement process on the basis of an essential condition. Agreement on a future permanent arrangement with the EU that enshrines United Kingdom sovereignty and secures a free trade agreement. It is looking increasingly unlikely that a deal is going to be struck between the two sides. The EU's chief negotiator Michael Barnier has repeatedly acknowledged that negotiations are difficult and claimed the British would like the best of both worlds. Facts4eu.org continued. The protocol and other aspects of the WA are incompatible with the agreement intended for the end of 2020. The EU has been acting in breach of a material term of the WA, meaning that the treaty was entered into on a false premise. It then claimed the protocol is in breach of the principle of the right to vote. The NI protocol, if implemented, was expected to be voted on by the Northern Ireland Assembly every 4 years. However, in the meantime the protocol itself was not voted on by the Assembly. Despite meaning Northern Ireland will have to follow the EU's trade rules for the single and customs markets but will not be able to have any input as to how those markets are run, as it will be leaving the bloc. Facts4eu then claimed the United Kingdom must exercise its right to suspend and terminate the obligations. It suggested passing an Act of Parliament which supersedes the withdrawal agreement. Facts4eu.org claimed these arguments were compiled in a 102-page paper which was presented to the government. The website explains, the arguments were written by some of the country's top lawyers experienced in these matters. The government has faced widespread criticism ever since the Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis confessed that the Internal Market Bill did break the law in a specific and limited way. Yet, these arguments from facts4eu.org pin the blame on the bloc. Additionally, many Eurosceptics are pointing out how the bloc itself has breached international law in the past. Former Tory MEP Daniel Harnong claimed last week that the EU has breached several trade agreements. Writing for Conservative Home, he said the bloc has broken treaties ranging from its groundless bans on overseas agricultural produce to its illicit Airbus subsidies. He continued. It also frequently violates its own treaties, sometimes on issues of enormous consequence. The Eurozone bailouts, for example, were patently illegal, not just in the sense that they had no basis in the European treaties, but in the sense that they were expressly prohibited. No one in Brussels tried to claim otherwise. Rather, they pleaded raison d'etat. He also suggested, suspending some aspects of the protocol would be a lesser infraction than violating the principle, affirmed both in the Belfast Agreement and in the protocol itself, that Northern Ireland's status cannot change without its consent. However, The EU has repeatedly stated that it has no intention of renegotiating the withdrawal agreement. President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen said this week, "We will never backtrack.